Okay, well, good morning,
Good
Laura. So glad that you
morning.
are here. Laura is a homeschooling mom, a military wife of 18 years, and she always thought that she had a great marriage, and she did, but she wanted more. And so today she wanted to come on. She was willing to come on with me and share her story to inspire others. So, Laura, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Okay, so I guess I'll just jump right into kind of where we were before I found you. So yeah, I've always wanted to have a good marriage, and so I have over the years read the books and tried the things, and I read like Fascinating Womanhood and Ask Your Husband and The Proper Care of Feeding of Husbands by Dr. Laura, and I would try these things and I say, okay, I'm realizing I'm being disrespectful, or I realize I'm being controlling, but it wouldn't stick. And I would fall back into fear and control and what my husband now tells me is being unpleasable, complaining without realizing that I was complaining. And what my marriage looked like before I found those skills was I thought my husband was just really obliging. I would be like, can you run to the store? He'd run to the store. I'd say, I want to do this. And he would say, okay. But then we would we would have these fights, these like kind of like you could almost like foresee them coming where he was really easygoing. And then one day he would just kind of snap and yell. And I would be kind of caught in the headlights like, where is this coming from? I am so wonderful. You're so happy. And now, like, you're yelling. So then I would turn into a victim and I'd be crying, like, you shouldn't yell at me. And so I could never really hear his words because I was just so upset. Like, this is like abusive. You're yelling at me. Like, I didn't grow up with people yelling at me. I didn't think that was right for my husband to yell at me. And I couldn't see his pain. I could just see my own victimhood. And so typically there would be some kind of big blow up. And I learned early on not to yell back. So, I just kind of shut down. And then usually he would like leave. And then, well, the worst times he would leave. And then he would come back and he would say sorry. And then I forgive him. And then we just kind of start the cycle over again, where I'm like doing the same old thing, thinking I'm a good wife. Also, in those times before I found the skills, I just had a lot of negative stories about him. I was constantly watching him, I was judging him, I was, um, he was on his phone too much, he wasn't doing enough with the children, or he wasn't doing enough with me. He was nicer to the kids than he was to me. I don't know. I just had all these stories. And I didn't know how to capture my thoughts. I didn't know anything about mindfulness. And so they were just this unconscious feeding of negativity into our marriage. And it was showing up in how I was behaving. All the while, I'm trying to be a good wife. I'm trying to check the boxes and do the things and, feeling resentful. And then, of course, like, I didn't know what self care was either. So, I would eat like chocolate or something once in a while, but I wasn't like actively, cognizantly saying, I need self care. So, I first found, so I just thought I would start with like, so September 2023, my friends were talking about this book, The Empowered Wife, and I was like, oh, I'll read a marriage book. I mean, I have a really good marriage, and I was like giving marriage advice. Like, if anyone needs some marriage advice, they should come to me because I have a really good marriage. And but we read this book, and my mind was just like flooded with all the things I was doing wrong, especially the controlling. Like I just controlled everything. And but all six skills were missing. And so I remember reading it. My friends and I kind of tried to coach each other, and we were like all these kind of newbies. One girl had read it back in February, so she was kind of like the pro, and and we were doing it on Marco Polo. So we'd come to each other with, oh, this happened or that happened, and we saw immediate results when we practiced the skills. And but I knew I wanted more, so I started hunting for someone out there, especially from a Catholic perspective, because, as Catholic, the skills are great, but there are certain things in the book you definitely had to set aside that didn't align with our faith. And and then someone told me, well, Coach Carol is doing this free Advent prep course. And so you can like interact with her for a week. And I was like, oh yes, I'm totally in. So I did Coach Carol's, well, your free Advent course. And I remember thinking like a couple of huge takeaways were like realizing I had all these expectations, like for everything. But I wasn't thinking about how I wanted to feel and how I wanted to show up. It was all about what other people were doing for me. And yet I wasn't really communicating my desires. I didn't know how. And so then you had talked about this renew program starting, and I totally did it wrong. I signed up and then I asked, just totally not empowered. It was totally out of fear. Oh, I wanted to say one thing before was that we had some pretty low points before I found the skills, like a couple years before we were in Germany. And at one point, I think I even told my husband, like, I don't trust you. Like there wasn't like really felt safety in our marriage. And he was like, I don't trust you either. And it was hard to hear, but it also felt kind of good to be honest. Um, it was still saying we had a good marriage, but just not being able to have that emotional safety. I didn't even really know what it meant to have a safe marriage and what that looked like. Um, so so yeah, so I found Renew and I did Renew and it was amazing. And what I loved about it is that actually it was more focused. It wasn't so much focused on it was focused on the skills, but really went so much deeper in that I learned that I needed to, capture my thoughts and that section you did on self-love, like that really hit me because I had so much negativity
Mm.
going on about who I was and how I wasn't doing enough. And of course that was spilling out into my marriage and my parenting.
Yeah.
So
Wow, Laura. Wow. Thank you for right your vulnerability there. But you're not alone at all in sort of that it's a habit of negative thinking. Um, we all do it, right? And so many of us get kind of stuck in that trench of negative thinking and looking for the worst and suspecting and not trusting and all that. And it doesn't help our marriages. It doesn't help us. And so that's a big part of what we do here, is learning how to capture those thoughts and be able to not just thought swap, but intentionally find ways of how those things are not even true, and then being able to, in a very empowered way, choose intentionally the thoughts that will create what it is that you really want in your life. And so I really acknowledge you for being brave, for following the little trail here to get into the course, get into coaching,
yeah,
because then you did participate in the group coaching as well. And
yeah.
tell us a little bit more about what happened for you in the programs. What transformed?
Okay, so yeah, so like you said, after Renew, I knew I couldn't just walk away from the coaching that I was still way too new. I needed the support. And because there's all these blind spots that, I didn't know I had. And so I think I coached from you with you, like so I did Renew starting in January, and then I kept coaching all the way till February 2025. Um, and it was just amazing. It's amazing to be in your coaching program because not only did I finally learn how to have enough like courage to raise my hand whenever I needed it. I remember reaching out to you and being like, "Well, can I raise my hand more than once?" And I'm like, "I'm shy." And you're like, "Why are you telling that story? If you need help, raise your hand." And so I think there might have been a couple times I raised my hand like I pretty much came to every meeting with something so that if I needed something, I would for sure raise my hand. If no one raised their hand quick enough, I was like, well, I'm gonna raise my hand because, you know, because I'm in this. I want to improve. And um, so yeah, and then when somebody else was coached, of course, you always find something to take away from that coaching, which was so amazing. And I miss it. I miss having that frequent, like, in the marriage community. So
Yeah,
it's
it's a
really,
beautiful sisterhood. There's no doubt.
yeah.
And it's so cool because so often we think that we have to do this alone or we have to manage our, yeah, figure out our marriages, all that stuff. And it's like, no, actually, there's a whole community of Catholic wives that are doing it together and really have grown in sisterhood. And I'm starting to do retreats. And so that's wicked fun to get together and actually hug each other and meet each other in person has been, I think, a piece that is missing, right? Like since COVID, everybody's still missing really that connection. And now, and especially because we're all over the country and actually all over the world. I have clients all over the world. But yeah, and so 2026, I'm working on a bigger kind of retreat where maybe we can all come together. So keep an eye out for that.
That'd
But
be amazing. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes,
Well, and
yes.
I was just listening to a different talk and they were talking about how back in the day you would have like 40 to 50 women helping you raise your children and stand for your marriage. And now we're so isolated. And so thank the Lord that technology does exist, that we can do things like this. But like you're saying with the in-person retreats, it makes it even.
Well, and not just like the isolation, but the big message out there is that, oh, if it's hard, gosh, you shouldn't, like when he's yelling at you, man, that's abusive. Like get out
Right,
of there. Like you don't need to stay
right.
married to that.
And
That's
that can really get into your own head because we know these messages. We watch the movies and hear the things, and so I think even labeling something as abusive is I choose not to do that. That's not empowered. That's just becoming a victim. And then how are you supposed to take responsibility for your own actions?
right.
No.
And what
When
I loved what you pointed out was that if you were willing to stand in your husband's shoes, that you could see that on his end, it felt abusive to him, right?
Yeah.
Because like when we're controlling and we're nagging and we're criticizing all the time, it's like they're sort of like, who am I married to? My husband let me know after we got back together, after our separation, that he had thought of me as piranha woman, and it's like, me, piranha? But to him, that's what it felt like. Always nipping at him, right? And it's like, but he never called me abusive, but
Mhm.
as a woman, oh yeah, we're all about it. Like you're totally abusive, you're a narcissist, you're all the things. We label them and we
Yes.
build a case with our girlfriends of how awful it is, and we just need to get out of there. And the message that we're giving is that you don't have to just get out of there. Actually, when a woman changes, the entire marriage can change. And I know that's countercultural big time. A lot of people don't like that idea. They want to be able to say, no, he's got to change too. He needs to go to counseling too. And it's like, actually, no.
Well, you know
Actually,
what I found out after doing all this is that my husband, even though he's like the loud one, and I would always blame for things, he's like the nice one. He's the one that's more emotionally mature. He's better at self-care. He's so willing to be generous and do all the things. And I'm the one that's like all tucked in on myself and kind of like one being a victim, two being selfish, and not wanting to, step forward into like, selfless love. And it's just amazing because it all happens so automatically. And that's what's so hard. But that's what's so good about what you do is that without the coaching, I don't know how you can really turn that corner.
that's
At
true.
least
A
not
lot
as
of women.
quickly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, at least not as quickly.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of women, like I know I tried just with the book at the beginning, and it's not enough. There's no way. And I see it all the time. But I got to tell you, my husband's just like yours. He is definitely more emotionally mature lots of times, and I'm the one that's wrapped up in fear and worry and anxiety and control. And he's sort of like, he's in the moment. He lives in today, which is what I talk to you guys about all the time. Like, don't be out
Mhm.
there in anxiety or in the past. Like, let's be here today. He just does that. He's in the moment. And it drives me nuts sometimes, but it's actually, kind of what we're supposed to be doing, not worrying all the time. So,
Right, because that's the only place God is in the present moment.
yes.
And so we're stuck in the other spots. But
And
yeah.
trusting God. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's been such a huge thing, like a huge journey in the last 2 years, is learning to like trust my husband, but also ultimately I had to learn to trust God. And it's a daily surrender, it's a daily action to do both.
Yeah.
And can I talk a little bit about where we are now?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
also, oh, I did want to say that while I was doing so I did renew, I did the coaching, but there was a couple times you and I talked one-on-one. And those were those times where the needle really moved and it's really stuck with me. Yeah, so I'll share that like so we're getting out of the military. My husband is starting his own business. And like a year ago, was it a year ago or more, I knew this was coming and I was so freaked out. I was so freaked out and I had all these thoughts and I remember coaching with you and you being like, create spouse fulfilling prophecies, be a cheerleader, and just gave me some really practical skills that even to this day I still use. And but one thing that you really helped me see was as I created more emotional safety in our relationship, my husband would say things like, "We're a team." And that
Mhm.
was something he really stood for. And I remember really struggling with that because I'm a really black or white person naturally. And so I was either like, I'm on his paper or I'm off his paper. And so, you either take the garbage out or I take the garbage out, right? This teamwork thing, it just felt too fuzzy. And then like I had all these thoughts, is this going to ultimately just all fall on my shoulders. But he kept saying it over and over. And so now I've learned that it means is that I'm his helpmate, which is so biblical, right? And that he doesn't want me just to like refuse to help him if he asks for it. I don't have to be controlling and volunteer and helpful, but if he asks me, "Hey, can you look at this document?" or "What do you think about this wording?" Instead of being like, "Oh, that's on your paper," I'm I'm able to say, "Yes, we're a team." And and he uses that language and I use that language, and that's really brought a lot of like emotional safety to our relationship.
Oh, I love it, right? And that's a relationship fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Like he brought that, right? That this
Yeah,
is
he
this is
brought
how
that.
we do things, like that we are a team. We do it things together. So I love that. And I love that
Yeah.
you're willing to receive, it's a give and take, right? It's a give and take. It doesn't have to be black and white. And so he's helping you grow too. So that's
Well,
awesome.
yes, he's always helping me grow. He's
Yes.
funny. Well, obviously, I've stopped like trying to control things, and it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen every day. But like capturing that. But really, I think so. The number one skill is always self-care, right? So it has to come back to how do I feel, what do I need, and if I'm stepping into resentment, to step away. And it's like we sometimes as women we get so scared that oh he's gonna like think I'm lazy or oh he's gonna resent if I walk away from the dishes and he has to finish it up or it's wait till tomorrow morning. And yet that's never been my experience. If I am taking care of myself and I'm joyful and I'm happy and I'm lighthearted and I'm playful, he's more than happy to hear my I can't. That's when
How
he
has this impacted you as a homeschool mom?
um well we're still working on that. But I think that the mindset work is the biggest thing, right? Because I'm going into this homeschool year and I know that there are thoughts, like habitual thoughts. So you talk about how we have to like we have the highway of our habits and we have to kind of make the new path. And so I'm having to really capture those and say, okay, I'm not choosing fear. I'm choosing faith over fear, like your sign. And I'm gonna live in the present moment. And we're gonna do everything in the present moment.
Hmm.
So I'm not gonna like worry about if this math concept doesn't happen today. I'm not gonna worry about 5 years from now and everything failing. And I'm not even gonna worry about I don't know, like the fifth thing we do in the day. Just right here, right now, do this one thing and try to be emotionally safe. I think emotional safety is something that, like again, I just didn't really know. I was so dysregulated and I was always kind of acting from that place of, you know, fight or flight and just elevated with my stress. And so coming down and just knowing that like I'm gonna have thoughts. They're there. They're gonna tell me I can't do this. They're gonna tell me that this is too hard or here we go again. And I'm like, no, those are just thoughts. And my priest recently actually told me to like, I mean, because I still have them, and he's like, just hand them to Jesus. They're just thoughts. Yeah. So
Yes. Yes, right? Because we're not doing this alone. And when you even mentioned surrendered before, yes, we surrendered to husbands, but we're surrendering to God. And we're
yeah.
doing this, bringing God in, and we're actually growing as women, becoming more of our true Christ-like self. And so the more that we're getting rid of those old habits that really didn't serve us, and that we're leaning in and bringing Christ in and just uniting, and like because I talk about self-care, it really is being soul care, right? Because it does
Right.
definitely incorporate a lot of prayer, adoration, mass, all of it, confession, and being able to it's growth in virtue is what we're doing here. And so the
Yeah.
more that we grow in virtue as the heart of the home, because the woman is the heart of the home, then it ripples through the whole house
Hmm.
and they mirror us and it just changes everything. And so there
Yeah.
can be less anxiety in our kids. There can be
Yeah.
less stress. Yeah. Have you witnessed that?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
The more I'm calm, the more smiling I am, the children are better
Yes.
with their own behavior. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So it's impacted, it sounds like, so many areas of your life. And here you guys are navigating getting out of the military, big changes, starting a
Yeah.
business. You've moved recently, all of that. So do you feel more empowered navigating these things?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I just wanted to share, I think that one of the big, I'm just trying to think because everything's so good now. I mean, I guess I want to really like give that message that it's so easy to list all the battle days stuff because I lived it for so long, but I really want to like share that like it's almost so good that I don't notice, like I notice it, but it's harder to describe. It's like it's more just a feeling of safety. And my husband now, okay, so one of the things he told me before was I was unpleasable, and that's just I was so confused at the time. But what was so cool is as I started practicing the skills, he was more honest with me. And he was able to come to me and say, you're complaining or you seem unhappy or and and rather than reacting and getting self-defensive, to say, okay, tell me how I'm doing that and being open and safe so that now he shares so much with me. Like he is so chatty and he'll come to me and ask my opinions, but he doesn't. I have to be really careful because sometimes he really wants my opinion, and sometimes he just needs me to say that sounds great or whatever you think. Um, but
Yes.
there's just like a lot more. Yeah, I guess there's just a lot more like peace
Yeah.
and like internally for both of us. And there's a lot more smiling. There's more gentleness. There's more generosity. There's more gratitude everywhere, and just, I mean, it just all really does ripple.
Yeah.
And it just gets better every day. If I wake up every day saying, I'm going to practice the skills more today than I did yesterday, if I'm going to capture my mind more today than yesterday, if I'm going to, I mean, if I get back to who I was when he fell in love with me, I mean, that's something that I think we just, we think that somehow when we get married, we have a license to roll our eyes or to sigh or to you know, think, oh, well, he just gets to have all of me now. It's like, well, you don't want his negative stuff. So why would you be throwing all your negative stuff? It's like, have some self-control, plexiglass, don't take everything so sensitively and know that he's doing his hardest and then noticing that stuff.
It's so good, right? Like, and tell me, do you feel like one of the big complaints about this work is that it sets a woman up to be a doormat? Do you feel like a doormat?
No, but I do have this share. Okay, so a week ago, we had this like big fight. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have this interview with Coach Carroll, and we're in this like big fight. And it was one of these things where he kept saying, like, stop badgering me. And he was like shutting down and going into like his man cave. And I was like anxious, poking him, and he's like avoidant, shutting down. And at the time, I was like, these skills don't work. I'm throwing them out. These are so stupid. Like, this isn't working. And but I decided that instead of being a victim and crying in my bed, I was like, I need self-care. I need self-care. I need self-care. So I didn't run away, even though he was like shutting down. And I felt like my whole world was falling apart. And I felt like it was never going to be good again. I mean, you just go so easy to
Catastrophize.
go there. I was like, I'm going to play the piano. I'm going to paint my nails. I'm going to go take a bath. I don't know. I just was like trying to feed myself. And I also wanted to show him, I knew on some level, I need to show him that I'm still safe. That even though he shut down and even though I've been crying, I'm still safe, I'm still present. And so, like, I kissed him goodnight, and it was just, he didn't really want anything to do with it. And I went to bed, and of course, I had all these thoughts. Catholic couple shouldn't go to bed angry. Oh my gosh, what is it going to mean? And so the next morning, I wake up and I'm like, good morning. And I just decided I'm going to do my prayers. And if this is going to be a week, if this is going to be a month, if this is going to be a year, then this is my cross. And I'm gonna need to stay in the skills. And I did have friends that, thank the Lord, I have two friends who've done this work and have actually been coached with you before. And so they were standing for my husband and saying, it sounds like he's tired. It sounds like maybe you're sending him negative things without knowing, and like so helpful. And the next morning I'm sitting in this chair and he comes in and he's just like, I'm sorry. And Jin poured his heart out with all the things that are on his shoulders. And so no, do I feel like a doormat? Not at all. Because, I a doormat was who I was before when I had no control over my emotions and I was just allowing myself to be in this whirlwind of either I'm happy because he's happy or I'm sad because he's sad. And I had no empowerment to stand with him but separately, and have that ability to still have my dignity, even if it's silent dignity, right? And and also I was able to hear all of his criticism, or I guess constructive criticism, in this fight. He said a lot of things that before I would have turned into, well, I can't hear you because this is so mean. But instead it's like, well, where's the truth in this? He knows me 18 years. He knows me really well. So if he says that, I'm talking too much or I'm doing something else, like maybe I need to listen to him for a minute and actually give him the same respect that I want myself.
Yes.
So it was hard, but it was also so good. And I kind of welcome those moments now, even though they hurt, because I know that's where the growth is.
Yes. Beautiful, Laura. So, what I often say, right? Like, so whenever there's like someone says something negative, if we can lean in and ask ourselves what part of that might be true.
Yes.
And that's what you're
Yeah.
doing, is that's very
Mhm.
humble, but rather than getting defensive, which is what we naturally do as human beings, we defend and then the missiles attack. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like just stay calm, be empowered. It's not a
Yeah.
doormat. Be
Yeah.
empowered. Actually listen to what this man who does love me is saying and what part of it might be true. And then it just changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And then there's so much growth. And really, that's what intimacy is all about. And that's what it sounds like you're really getting to deeper levels of intimacy.
Well,
So,
yeah, for sure. Like before, it was like we had physical intimacy. Like that was never been a problem. But I don't think there was as much emotional intimacy because, especially because in the battle days, like when we were first married or this first, I don't know, when I first became mom, um, he would just say, I can't say stuff to you because you'll just get too upset. And I don't want that. I'm like, I want to know. But then he's like, yeah, you say that. But then all this other stuff happens.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, he knows. He knows. So, if there
yeah.
were, what message do you want to give, like to another woman who might be out there listening, thinking that she can really relate to your situation where her marriage is good, but, she knows that it could be more.
I think this work requires a lot of humility, and I want her to know that there's so much more to your marriage than where it is right now. I thought I had a good marriage, and I was reading the books and I was trying to do the thing, and I think that I know that everyone can afford coaching, but I think that if you can look into it and at least consider it, that there's just so much more that your marriage can be, and you don't have to be in crisis to get a better marriage. I think that God intends for us to have joyful, happy marriages. This is a sacrament, and it's not something where we just need to put our head down and get through. And like we go, I'm pulling my husband along with me to heaven, or he's pulling you along to heaven. It's that we really are supposed to thrive in our marriage. And so if you're not thriving in your marriage, if you don't look forward to him coming home every night, or if you like don't feel like you can pour your heart to him, not in a State of the Union address, but like, in a vulnerable, intimate way, then there is more, and it's not beyond your reach. It's just that you have to do the work. And I would say start with reading The Empowered Wife, because that does give a framework, but it's not a Catholic book. And to have everything framed around our faith and, like you were saying, the sacraments, that's where the next step is.
Yeah. And so I have taken the skills, but put it through a Catholic lens in my Irresistible Wife course, which is on my website, the createmyhappymarriage.com. And then there's also modules in there about the mindset work. So that's there. I will be doing the Advent piece again this year, and will likely be offering Renew again in January. So that's a low, very low price point to get. I mean, the Advent Challenge is free,
Yeah.
low price point to get in. And then even group coaching is only right now $57 a month. So group coaching is very affordable. And then if someone is in having bigger problems or challenges in their marriage and needs more with one-on-one, I do have a package for that as well. So any woman who feels like she would like to connect, I have free relationship assessment calls on my website, the createmyhappymarriage.com, and you can schedule a call with me and we would just chat, and no pressure, but just kind of explore where you're at and what I think, first, if I even think I can help, and then if what program might fit best for you. So there's lots of options that no woman has to try to do this alone. It's really too hard. And I see it oftentimes, but it's pretty hard and it takes a long time on your own. So,
Well,
yeah,
right. And that's the thing is I was reading the book and I was like, this is amazing. How do I go deeper?
yeah,
And how do I go deeper, not only with the skills, but like I didn't even know that the mindset stuff existed until I met you. And that with this, the skills are great, but there needs to be that other piece, because we're not capturing our mind, if we're not learning how to feel our feelings, if we're not learning how to love ourselves and really getting all that from our perspective of our faith, then then they kind of fall flat, or it's so easy to fall back into those old habits.
Yeah, right. And that is completely different from Laura's book for sure. That this is like St. Paul tells us in scripture, right? Like that we are take your thoughts captive, but none of us really know how to do that. What does that mean? So that is
Yeah.
what we're doing here on my campus. And so,
Right, because you did Metanoia Catholic, right?
yes.
That yeah, that training is supposed to be amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And I've done other work as well, all along that lines of what was taught at the life coach school. So, and
okay.
actually, really what it is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And so it's being able to identify what you're thinking and feeling, how you're showing up, and the result that you're creating in your life. So it totally empowers you on your paper to figure yourself out because we can't be trying to control him or figure out what he's thinking and doing. No, it's over here. It's over here. This is where our power is. So it's not about being a doormat at all. It's really about claiming our power. Very
Well, and
much.
the other thing I was going to say is that I feel like sometimes we start the skills for like out of manipulation. We want to manipulate our husbands into being the man that we want them to be. We want them to change. We want them to be kinder and sweeter and more affectionate and generous and whatever. And I remember when I first read the book, I was like, okay, this is great. But I noticed I was doing that because I'm looking for the results. I'm not looking at myself. And I remember my friend was coaching with you before I did, and she started early, like a month early. And she was like, "Oh yeah, Coach Carol just had this woman show up and say, I want to stop manipulating my husband, with the skills. I want to go deeper." And I was like, "Oh, that's what I want." And so then I joined, but it was like it really is about you. It's about becoming the grace-filled, joyful woman of God that we are all meant to be, so that we can be better wives and mothers and daughters and friends and parishioners and all of it.
Yeah, it's the true you. It's the true you that we were
Yeah.
born, right? And then as you know, when we're God knew us in the womb, our mother's womb, and we were the true you. And then we come out into this world and whether there's, family stuff or playground stuff, like there's trauma, there's things that happen and walls go up and defenses go up and we self-protect and all those things. And it's like then we step into really being a false self. And so the journey now is to come back to becoming the true self again, reuniting with Christ, growing closer with Him, and really becoming all that He meant us to be. And when we're that person, that's the piece of growing in virtue. Oh my gosh, right? That is just so magnetic and it creates better relationships all the way around. So that's the journey. And none of us do it perfectly, but that's the journey. That's what we're
Well,
doing here.
I think that's why like your coaching it goes so much further beyond the book because you're not just saying, okay, here's the six skills and here's how we practice them, even though that's so amazing and helpful. But it's like, how do we become a whole woman?
Yes.
And how do we
100%.
live in this sisterhood of like standing for each other, standing for marriage, being pro-husband? That is such a huge thing. Like we don't hear about that in this our society. It's like get rid of your toxic friends or stop talking to your mother-in-law or your mom about your marriage and
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and stand with
Absolutely.
other women. So
Wow. 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 Anything else you want to share before we close?
yeah, I'm so thankful for everything that you taught me. And I mean, I wish I could be in coaching right now, but it's a desire and he knows it. And when we get there, we'll get there, but I'm not gonna be controlling and like just do it. But yeah, I'm very thankful for everything that you taught me and things just come up when I need them and
Yeah.
I'm really thankful for all the work you're doing. And I
Yeah.
hope a lot of other women find you because if you're not just like joyful that you are married to the man that's either at work slaving away right now or in the kitchen or wherever, then that's something you can change.
Mm.
And he doesn't have to do anything different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for your courage, getting brave, brave. It takes courage to raise your hand and get coaching for sure. Like a lot, it's scary. So, but hopefully people can see I'm not scary. And so, so I just thank you for your witness, for your vulnerability, your courage coming on here and for standing for other women because that's what you're doing. So thank you. God bless
Thank
you. And we'll
you.
talk soon. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, if you like what you're hearing in this video, be sure to get on my email list so that you know when I offer Renew Again. It's quite likely going to be this coming January, and I'm quite likely going to be doing the Advent Challenge in December. So head on over to createmyhappymarriage.com, sign up. It's a free 10-day email course, and that will give me your email, and then you'll get all the emails when I do Renew Again. All the links are down below. Thanks for watching.